want to start by saying Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas this year. And those of you who celebrate your other stuff, Merry other stuff. Now that we're all settled in, everything's going good, and we're getting our systems in order, I wanted to show the rip station. And I'm getting to enjoy the rip station this morning. The guys got buried in this long poplar. We had a long, wide, big poplar, and they're getting buried in upgrades. And I walked down there, and I forget who now, but when it said, get down there and get on your rip station and help us. Big Mike was down there, and I called Big Mike and let me take over for a while. And Big Mike kind of babies it. He looks after it. He treats it real well, amongst the other guys. But Big Mike, really, it's kind of his baby. I want to get into this. I want to tell you the reason I really obsess over this rip station. Because it encompasses what I feel like is the mentality, proper mentality for the proper thinking in our industry. Upgrading your lumber to maximizing the value of the product you already own. Taking more effort to do that, understand, other than like marketing or better sales and stuff like that. You're better selling campaigns and stuff like that, I understand. But this is grassroots, bare bone, it's solid foundation stuff. The parts we use on it are all used parts except for the consumables, like the belts and the chains and that sort. But everything else was used parts we have in our boneyards, saving our boneyards. So your boneyard's worth scrap iron price. But when you collect it and put the stuff together and put some sweat equity and skill into it, you can turn that price into something that's worth well more than scrap iron. It needs painted. I'll show it someday after we get it painted finally. Probably won't be till this summer, because I got to do a couple more modifications on it this winter. Me or Robin one. To take that the value that the scrap is worth, put a little sweat equity into it and a little bit of skill into it and some teamwork. It definitely, I can't overestimate the teamwork. Put that into it, and then you can turn that stuff into what we're using today. This rip saw was an old rip saw when I was a kid. Madison. It's a Madison 202. It was bought out by Brooks and Klockner, or whatever the name of the company is, out of Illinois. And you buy the parts through them now. Good company. I've looked them up. They seem legit, and the people I've talked to on the phone seem good. So it's a good, solid station. Now these upgrades we're catching, through as cheap a low budget as possible, making it easy to do. And I'm not good at running it. I should be running it left-handed, and I'm running it right-handed. But if you run it a different way that I've figured out since I've done this video, you can actually rip quite a bit faster. You can run the fence with your left hand and feed the boards with your right and stay on the other side of the fence. And you can almost get them butt to butt with different measurements, which is real neat, without putting out any effort. But this project encases the mentality of thinking like an investor. You're taking the steel and moving parts that you've accumulated over years through other things that was worth nothing, and you turned it into something that's worth and value. You've made it easier to take the commodity that we're using, which is the lumber, and we're trying to make it as easy as possible through grassroots means as we can get. And let me add in there a way to bond our team together, because everybody put their ideas into this. This wasn't my brainchild. This was everybody's brainchild. I had a lot going on in my head, but by talking to everybody, and then when the guys got involved, it really took off. When Robin and Matt at the time, Rick and Ball, Mikey, and Big Mike down below, and I think the music's had some say-sos in it, and Jason got involved in it, and I know I'm missing you, and if I missed you, I'm sorry, and if you see this, I'm sorry, but a bunch of people got involved. When they did, man, the project just went whew. We got this thing built and put it in a week. The only thing I installed later was the hood. This is the hood I got over this thing because the weather outside gets to it. We built 2 carts for it, but in this poplar, this is the hardest this rip saw's ran. You're seeing the speed the boards come out of the mill, or of the upgrade station there. And so this thing's a banging and a banging and a banging. So I threw a lumber cart in there to just use a regular lumber cart. And with our roll design that somebody come up with that holds the boards out and shoots them out proper, it stacks them in a lumber cart just fine. It don't have to be a box bin. It could be just a plain old lumber cart and work just fine. But through all that teamwork and stuff put together, to me, this project has been one of my favorite projects that we've done. I know it's kind of boring to you guys probably because they don't have wheels and a Jake brake, but it has been one of my favorites because of the bond it's put our team into, the ingenuity it's pulled out of some of my co-workers, and I got to see everybody come together. And now today to get to see Big Mike or one of the Hispanics or somebody like that to run it and to enjoy running it, which running rips used to be horrible, but to see and then now they're throwing their cutoffs when they make a cutoff. So you take a board and you cut the trash off the board to make the board worth more. You can throw your cutoff up there because we can still saw some of the cutoff for pallet stock. Just throw it on top of another board and it comes on down. You can get the short cutoffs. You can get your big wide rips. Everything just right there, right at your waist, ready to shove through the rip saw. And all of it for little to nothing, except for the consumables. To me, this just encompasses what a project should be. I want to take this opportunity to jump in here and explain to y'all, see how wide them boards are. You see how that's got a pile of trash towards me where I flip that board over? That thing is what I'm ripping on the left hand side of the screen there, the board, that's going to be face lumber. Now on the right hand side, it's probably going to end up in, well, the markets are in the toilet right now, so that'll probably end up in the pallet brick. But if they ever decide to start paying for lumber again, it could be furniture. But right now it's just pallet. But I think everybody's starting to wake up to the fact that with these diesel prices and stuff, people are going to shut down anyway, so maybe things will change in the near future. I don't know. I can always keep my hopes up. But either way, all we can do is make the best out of what we got. And that's what we're doing here. We're just, and that row case was an old row case we shortened up out of the old station. And what that row case does is allows a stopping section. See how them boards stopped right there? So them's pallet, them's chop off. So they chopped it. Well, that's actually just a short board off of a jacket board off of the cant up in the sawmill up there, and it ended up with a short face, so I could open it up and make a minimum opening face on a log. Well, you can go ahead and rip your pallet stuff. You just shut your belt off up there, make your pallet stuff, throw it in your cart there, and then here I'm kind of letting it compound against each other because I had a few of them. You can shove your whole mess through and it'll set on them row case. So then you walk around there once, about like the daddy bull and the baby bull. We can walk down there and we can take care of them all at once. So anyways, so then everything is set there and you can sort through everything. Let me see, I'm showing this, and sorting stuff out and stacking stuff. That's your pallet. All that stuff's pallet. That's going to make shipping pallets. That wood there is. Instead of going in the hog. It ain't worth a lot of money. It ain't much, but it's something. And you already have it sitting there, so you might as well make good use of it because at this point, even if it is somewhat of an aggravation, you're down to Big Daddy says scratching shit with his chickens. And then you fire your big belt up. That's one I had to re-rip. Then you'll see me, I'll fire that big belt up. And we'll go right back to ripping boards and throwing them back to the upper end for the graders to put the stamp of approval on them, and then they can stack them finally. And there's the belt going. And then you don't have to be so mindful of how everything is, because the way that overhead roll stacks them in the bunks and stuff, it don't matter which comes out which where, it's going to that roll's going to hold it to where it comes out and it don't turn into spaghetti out there in your cart. It'll actually turn out okay, which is simple technology, but very, very effective and very cost effective too. There's so many things you're balancing in this industry, and there's so many people. Your big companies come in and they take care of what's got margin. So if you just go buy quality logs, saw quality logs, you got margins in that. But all the rest of us that buys the whole tree, we have to deal with all the aspects of the tree and do the best we can. And that's kind of where you're. Look at that gearbox tension over there. I'm gonna jump subjects. You see how I got angle iron? Got them. Me and Rick and Ball come up with that standing out in the rain one day. All spare parts and stuff. That old gearbox has been over Bear Hollow. That's kind of like our industrial boneyard over there that everything's under the roof. Well, me and Rick and Ball went over and grabbed that old gearbox, hard telling how old that thing is, brought it over here, checked the fluid, and put new fluid in it, and hooked it up, and come up with some kind of cobbled up belt tensioning system, which is a torque arm box is what it is, and, utilize your spare parts, and then if anything happens to that gearbox someday, I'll buy a brand new good gearbox, that matches the speed I need, which is a touch faster than the ripsaw feeds. So your belt's not slowing the boards down, it's speeding the boards up when it comes out of the ripsaw. That's good for your lacing and all that stuff where your boards transition onto your belt. And then, then you'd update with some good parts at that point. But at this point, we're utilizing our spare inventory of parts that we got stacked up, in our industrial leftovers there. And this roller, even this rubberized roller that I got feeding this belt conveyor here, it was leftover over there. So everything's leftover part. I think even the bearings is already mounted on it. These old pillow blocks, we just put a bunch of grease in them and they're ready to roll. The things that mentality in something like this is just, to me, is the epitome of what. And yeah, it looks like crap. It needs painted. You paint it, you can make it look like brand new, whatever. But I know right now it's some of that steel you're looking at over there is from the old lowboy we cut out from the twisted up lowboy, and we are working on those of you asking about it. It's I got to order some parts yet. I'm trying to get that in this winter and spring, get that lowboy running. It's all ready hydraulically and mechanically. It just needs its new deck welded on and new boards put on the deck. But all that stuff happens at the time. But anyways, you're utilizing your old stuff. There's a bunch of old parts, old steel. You're saving your I-beams, your wide flange beams and stuff like that, and utilize them in big channel iron, even small channel iron. You're utilizing that stuff. So all that metal sitting there in your boneyard, ready to be used for something that all you got to do is add a little time and skill to it, and you got something. And the way the markets are these days and labor and things of that sort, man, I'm telling you, you need to utilize your stuff, because stuff is expensive now. And if you can utilize the stuff you done got, and you can't go bragging about being a new Tiger Cat or whatever, but it does hit you where it counts. The Big Mama's saying is, I can always stop. What the heck? She always tells them she can stop at diesel fuel at any time. So when diesel fuel gets too expensive, you can park something and stop at diesel fuel burning consumption. But you can't never stop them payments once you get underneath them payments. So if you learn to live within your means, whatever means that may be, my means are a little cheaper than your means probably, but when you learn to live within your means, then you can afford to stop when you need to. When the cash situations turn into a mess because the cash flow is negative instead of positive, well, then you can adjust accordingly, and you don't have to carry that big bag on your back and turn good money into bad money because you're butchering wood and selling it for a shitty price, or out there in belly pan deep mud trying to churn up mud to turn diesel fuel into money, when you can't, when you're turning overpriced diesel fuel into broken parts and destroyed land, So that type of mentality, you know, living within your means can really help you stay where you need to be as far as, I don't know how to say it. I'm not smooth at talking. But, and that cover, that concave cover, that cover was an aluminum cover. That was an aluminum culvert, 35 years old, cut off the end of the culvert heading out our road at the sawmill. That culvert been sitting in the boneyard for 35 years. And then, as Big Daddy said, "You want that son of a buck?" He said, "Hell, use it." He said, "It needs gone." So I ripped it down, welded it, aluminum welded it together, and then turned it into that hood. Now, once we paint it, it won't look so bad, but it's a little beat up now because, hell, it's had 35 years of you living. Hope y'all like this later on.